Hello and welcome to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Zee, where we share everyday stories with you, everyday women. Are you ready to hear heart-to-heart key issues that we all face, no matter where we are in the world? So grab your cup of tea and let's welcome your host, author, international speaker, reinvention strategist, and woman that's full of faith in God and mankind, Dr. Zena Arinze.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z. And it's such an awesome pleasure to have you on the show. Wherever you're watching from around the world, you feel free to put your comments in. Today is Friday. Yay! And I'm extremely happy, extremely honored to have an amazing guest on episode 17 today of A Cup of Tea with me, Dr. Z, where we spotlight amazing everyday women all over the world doing extraordinary things. And tonight's guest, oh my days, she is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to unleash her onto you in a minute. But before I do this, just as a quick reminder, why do I do this show? Yeah, you're going to say, well, Dr. Zena, you're a coach, you're a speaker, you do all these amazing things, and that's fantastic. But really, in actual fact, I'm just an everyday woman, okay, with blonde hair. I'm just an everyday woman who has been able to do extraordinary things. I'm really grateful. I've had the opportunity to have access to places all over the world. But let's bring it home. I'm an everyday woman, a single mother for that fact, an everyday woman who has met so many people who don't have the opportunity to share their voices, who don't have the opportunity to actually understand that they matter. Hidden voices around the world, people that are doing amazing things even for their next door neighbor. It might be, you could be listening right now, and I don't know where you are around the world, and you might be there. Happy Friday. Hello, Wendy. Happy Friday to you. You could be an everyday woman somewhere around the world, and you're thinking, my voice doesn't matter. I can't be like Dr. Z. I can't be like Oprah. I can't be like whoever you aspire. I can't be like Beyonce. I can't be like Mother Teresa. I can't be like Michelle Obama. I don't know. I can't be like Kamala Harris. I don't. And you're thinking, well, I'm different. It's easy for them. But I want to tell you that your story, you might be thinking that your story is insignificant. You might feel that you are invisible. Perhaps you're in the workplace in a 9-to-5 role, and your boss keeps telling you every time you do your performance review that you are rubbish, that you have not met expectations. Or perhaps you don't work at all and you look after your family. Or perhaps you're unemployed for whatever reason and you think that it's over. Or perhaps you just need someone to just, pull you up and tell you that you can do this. This is why I do this show, because there are so many people doing extraordinary things. And extraordinary doesn't mean that you need to be on a platform. It just means that you have taken the chance, taken the steps to get out of bed and to show up as your best self. Or sometimes you might be showing up as your worst self. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that you're here, I'm here, and we are breathing oxygen together. It doesn't matter which continent you're on. And I want you to know that I could be coming to you. I could be speaking to you, interviewing you so that you can share your story to help someone else move forward. We are all extraordinary beings. Anyway, enough about that. I get really emotional when I start talking about this because this is a passion project, and I have been able to speak to so many people, and there are so many people waiting to come on the show. So I'm really excited. But let me tell you about my current guest, my special guest, phenomenal woman. Her name is Aurea Reese, and she's a multifaceted, I need to read it. And she's a multifaceted individual, amazing woman. She has a unique background story. She's an everyday woman just like you, and her story spans across several continents. She was born in Luanda in Angola. She moved to Portugal at a young age because of the Civil War. And then eventually she settled here in the UK in 2008. She's a single mom, so we have something in common. She holds a degree in tourism and business management. And she's transitioned from one career to another in an industry She's now a mentor and she's a coach in the West Midlands. And beyond her professional endeavors, her journey includes authoring a fantastic, insightful bestseller called Healing Letters. If you don't have a copy, you need to get a copy. Healing Letters. And it talks all about, how she was able to embrace a more meaningful part of her life, how she was able to use, like they say, use lemons to make lemonade. And she now uses that same story to help other people around the world to overcome the challenges and the impact and the lasting afflictions on the lasting impact of trauma. She's also a TEDx speaker and she's received several awards for her impactful work. She serves as an ambassador in various causes such as domestic abuse awareness, and she has a passion for writing. Now, she's multilingual. I can just about speak English. She's multilingual. But above all, she's someone who is really passionate about making people believe in themselves, making people understand that when you say yes to yourself, possibilities become possible. Without further ado, I'm going to invite this amazing woman, this amazing guest that I have today in the green room. And let's do that now. For some reason, I like it when technology likes to tell you don't know what you're doing, but I do know what I'm doing. Oh my days, this always makes me laugh. Always makes me laugh. Right, here we are. So as I was saying, my amazing, phenomenal, wonderful guest, Aurea Reese.
Hello.
Hello.
It's so interesting to be here in the green room, watching everything like a ghost.
I forgot you're there. You could see me.
Yes, it's so nice. Thank you,
Such a pleasure to have you come on. It really is. I am honored, and it's a privilege to see you in the flesh and have you, share this platform with me and really talk about episode 17. When you say yes to yourself, impossibilities become possible. And if you're listening, like if we're in church, if we're on a Sunday, I'll say, if you've got your notepad, write it down. What we're talking about today is when you say yes to yourself, impossibilities become possible.
Yeah.
Oh, Aurea. I like the way you say your name. Say your name the way it's supposed to be said.
Aurea Reis.
Aurea Reis, you see?
It's a Portuguese name, so of course I make it easy. But you know what? I'm not one of these people that get offended. I've been called Orio, Aurea, Arrea. As long as it's not a bad name or cussing me, I'm fine.
You're fine.
Can I just say something before I forget?
Yes.
Today is your episode 17.
Yes.
And my date of birth is 17, so I don't believe in coincidences.
I don't either.
On the right episode, I came up.
I don't either. Oh, this is amazing.
Yes,
wow.
it is actually, yeah.
This is amazing. 17th of when?
October.
Wow. I'm going to remember that when I bring you back, I'll make sure it's on the 17th. I'm just kind of putting it in there right now, live, so people can hear around the world. She can't say no. She's coming back.
Yeah, I'm saying yes.
Right, Aurea, thank you so much for coming. One of the things that I love about your story is the fact that, apart from the fact that it has spanned several continents. This show is a global show. It talks to women, everyday women. It's not a platform to say, oh, look at me. It's a platform to say, look at me in spite of.
Mm-hmm.
So that other people around the world can listen to the in spite of and get that motivation that they need to move forward, And so my first question to you is, because you've you've had to transition from different countries at different stages in your life, what were the challenges you faced? What were the, 2 key challenges you say that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
When I came, that's a good question, actually. It made me reflect for a second. When I came from Angola to Portugal was bullying, racism. And then because I came in at a young age, I was 11 when I started the school in Portugal, in Algarve. And I was, I think, the only black girl, or I think it was two of us there. One was older, which wouldn't mingle because she was older than me. She was probably in year 10 and I was in year 6 or 7. I'm not sure. And then, yeah, lots of bullying. And then when I moved to UK, what I felt was the loneliness, the alien feeling of, although I could communicate a little bit, the culture shock, some of the moral grounds that I had from my back home, because I born in Angola, but I grew up in Portugal. But it's kind of similar because if you know, in terms of history, Angola was colonized by Portuguese, Portugal. Yes. So kind of there's some similarities in terms of culture, moral grounds. I mean, not culture. And then here was the loneliness of not having anyone. It was just me and my son's father, and he had family here. I had no one. Where I was living here in Wolverhampton, West Midlands. When we moved, we were 1 month in London in a friend's house. But then when I moved to West Midlands, I felt completely alone. And there was some things within our relationship where I felt, well, you act this way because, you know, here I have no one, nowhere to run. That was the main things in terms of the culture shock, the cold. Oh my God, never seen snow in my life. So the first day, oh, that's so funny, because the first day they said it was going to snow. So I was outside waiting for the snow. So when it started coming down, I was like, oh, this is so cute. After 5 minutes, I was like this.
You're like, no, it's not.
So
it's not
cold. I was so cold. Like then my brother-in-law said, next time take a hot shower and then you can go to bed. You can't just come out of outside and go straight to bed because it takes longer for you to warm up. So I said, yeah, I don't like snow anymore. And then I decided that I don't like cold. Although Portugal is cold, but Portugal cold, you know, you can wear like a light jacket around December, October. So that was a few of the things. Because of your language being broke at the time, my English was more broke, and regardless of me having work experience, I had to start from the bottom. Yes, doing cleaning, working factories, long hours, and seeing more than slavery and firsthand. And seeing that although my English was broken, I was treated with a little bit more respect because I could communicate, and then see other people that could communicate at all being treated in ways that I thought, wow, I thought this was a first world, you know, that things were different. And even today, because my background is in travel and tourism, but since COVID happened, then I end up having to start all over again and having to say yes to new possibilities, and end up becoming employment coach at the Refugee Migrant Center. And that was one of the things that always put me close to my clients because they could relate with me. Some of them would be working in the same factory that I work as well and complain that they didn't want to go back, and me sitting there and saying, listen, this is the way, this is not your destination. I had to be there as well. And while I was there, I was putting myself in college, improving my English, doing some courses. I went to university here, while that money was helping me through all of that because I had a goal. And I knew that that was just the way, not my destination. Because if I was still there, I'll probably be in a mental hospital because the way they treat people, it's just disgusting to say the least.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, like I always say, and if you're watching this or you're watching on the replay or you're listening on the replay, because we're now on Spotify. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I want you to understand, if you're listening, that as Aurea has said, whatever it is that you're doing right now, perhaps you have a cleaning job, perhaps, you know, you've had to start again for whatever reason, you've left your country, you have to start again, you're starting from the bottom. Maybe you're working in an old people's home and you feel that you're stuck, or you're working as a cleaner 5 years, 10 years, and you're stuck. I've done that. You know, look,
Me too.
I've done all those jobs. You know, if you need a little bit of money, you do whatever you need to
You
do.
know what you have to do? You have to
Do
feed your
whatever you
child.
need
You
to
have bills
do.
to pay.
You have bills to
You
pay.
know,
So
it's
don't
better to do that
stand
than
still.
go lose your house. And let
Yeah.
me tell you something. It was bad when I came, knowing that I had the skills. In Portugal, I always had good jobs. I always work in office. Here, I had to start from the bottom. It was even worse, Zina, having a degree. COVID happened. My background was travel and tourism. I came out of university straight to the job what I used to have. Worked there for 6 years, always going up, up, up. COVID happened, tourism, everything was closed.
Because nobody was traveling. Absolutely.
Exactly. The borders were closed. So I was made redundant after 7 months in furlough. And guess what? I had to start all over again. And what did I do? Care. Something that I said to myself, I'll never do that because personal care, that's not for me. I'm not doing that. First day on the job that I went on trial, I went in the morning, 6 a.m., crying, feeling sorry for myself. Then while in there, those clients, they brought me back to my humanity because I was working in corporation. And 2 years
I just want to
before,
cry
I
because
already
as you're
felt.
talking, I'm just getting emotional because I've met so many people that have this story. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because I was working in corporation, and corporation world, you have to be an animal
Yes,
beast.
yes, yes,
It's about the bonus, it's
yes,
about getting those promotions, it's
yes,
about
yes,
getting up.
yes.
And 2 years before, I was already feeling a bit unhappy because I will always be very anthropologist, very human touch, and I felt I was losing. I used to see things and other people in the environment that I dislike it,
Mm,
but then I would find myself doing the same by finding excuses for myself.
yes.
So when COVID happened and I started doing care, in the end of the day, my shift was from 6 until 9 o'clock at night. I came home and I had this feeling of fulfillment. I had this feeling I was in the right place at the right time. And I said to myself, I'm going to take this. Then the next morning I was off because it was just a day trial and I was supposed to start the week after. The owner of the company called me and said, so what do you think? Because he wasn't sure about me because he knew I had too much skills
Yes,
and I
yes,
wasn't like the other girls, not
yes,
regarding any of them.
yes.
And I said, I'm going to say yes. And he was like, sure. And I said, yes, I think I need that for now. And he
Mm,
said, because financially, I said, no, for myself.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
he did, and he said, oh, okay, whatever you mean with that. And I
Mm,
stayed there for 9 months, and that brought me back to my humanity. And from there, when things started to come back, my old employers, I still have a good relationship with them. They knew I was looking for work because although I was there, I continued to apply for other jobs. I went back to college to do maths and English because my degree didn't require maths and English. But then I thought, if I'm going to stay in this environment, I have to do maths and English. Let's do maths and English. So I went back to college. And when they found out that I was looking for work while doing care, they came back to me saying, Aurea, with the company starting to boost up again, we did promise whoever we were letting go, soon things were going to start open again. We would invite you back. So if you want, please come and have a conversation. And I said to them, give me 3 months or something. If I
mm,
feel if nothing happened on that time, I'll let you know,
mm.
because I knew I had that door open, and it's always nice to leave a door open. But I didn't want to go back to that, not because of the
Yes,
people.
yes,
The company was lovely. I used to love the job, but because I found something in me that I realized. That's why I always put on my bio that since writing the book, because I wrote it during COVID, before COVID, but it was published during COVID,
mm,
that there was something more humanistic in me that I had to put down, and that I wanted to be helping other people, not just for the bonus, but without even receiving nothing. Sometimes I do things for people in terms of projects and whatever. They don't pay me. I'm just helping them on their platform. And guess what? They continue to call me, and I
mm.
meet people like you, and you invite me on your platform, because I learned then that not everything is monetary. And
That's
I
true.
want to, like you were saying to people, sometimes if you're doing the cleaning, if you're doing that, and if something happened in your life that you have to start all over again, I saw it as a reset. I saw it
Yes,
as
yes,
God, because I used
yes.
2 years before, I used to say, God, I'm leaving this good job, where I'm gonna go? And I always say, if COVID happened and you didn't reset something in your life, if you didn't started something new, if you didn't learn something new in COVID, you didn't leave COVID. Because
Yeah,
although the
yeah,
circumstances were really
yeah.
bad for many
Yeah.
people, everyone suffered during COVID, mentally, physically, whatever. It was really positive for me because it brought me here, and I'm really happy with that experience.
I like that, and I'm hoping that people that are listening now, or people that listen on the replay, I'm just hoping I'm going to have a quick look, just to have a quick look, because last time I did it, it didn't come out on YouTube properly. So I'm just going to have a quick look. Just it should be
Okay.
street. It's supposed to be streaming everywhere because that's how it's been set up. But technology can always
I don't
technology.
like technology. Technology for me, it's Chinese. Sometimes I have to call my 13-year-old to help.
Oh, it's live. I can see. Excellent. I'm happy because the last time I did it, uh, guys, if you're listening, you're watching me, don't worry. This is me. I don't do scripting. I don't want to be all nice and stush. I just want to be, what you see is what you get. But just, go back to your point. Sometimes as women, we believe the hype. So you have a good job, you have a good career, you're doing really well, you got all amazing awards, you get all the claps on social media, and all this is fantastic for those of us that are in that space. I'm in that space, you're in that space. But you've got to remember that it's just a hype. Beyond all that, you're just an everyday woman. You have the same bills. If cancer strikes, it will strike you, God forbid. But, or if you have a child that has autism, or you have, a child that's gone to whatever it is, all the trials they face, it can happen to anybody. So, and it's really important that in everything that you're doing and everything that you're being, that you still have your humanity, as you said, because you never know when, none of us expected COVID.
Yes.
And for some people, they had to work through it. So those, nurses and doctors, in the NHS and around the world, and in the medical services, essential services, they had to keep on working. And so they were, scared out of their wits, were they going to die and stuff like that. So we know that. But there are other people like yourself, in the hospitality, industry, in the tourism, that you just had to stop.
Yeah.
And many people, even right now, are still suffering from that impact, that trauma. They could, you could be, still going for counseling because, because everything just stops. So you have to be in a position to find something that can help you reset. And I like what you said, that when things go wrong, it doesn't matter how rock bottom you get, as an opportunity to start again. For as long as you have breath in you, you can start again. I guess it's easier for people like yourself or myself who've had lots of various traumas and we're single mums and all that. You have nothing else to depend on. But I don't know who I'm talking to. I want you to know that if you are in that so-called, what people might say, dead end job, and your friends are laughing at you, ignore them. You're paying your bills. You're feeding yourself. If you go to Tesco or Walmart or Lidl or Aldi, whatever shop, I went to Aldi today actually, whatever shop you go to, cheap and cheerful, yes, well, it's no longer cheap and cheerful. What you want to go to maybe Waitrose, wherever it is, M&S. If what you're buying, I spent £83 today. If I gave them £80 and said, look, I don't have £4, they're either going to walk me out the shop, or they're going to call security, or I'll have to drop the shop.
Yeah.
And so I want you to realize, whatever job you're doing, whatever role whether you're working on, and if you're not working, I'm still want to tell you that you do have skills. You can volunteer. You can give your services. As Ori has mentioned, she's doing lots of things she does for free. She's now helping people in the refugee center. I know what that's like. I mean, I've never been a refugee, but I've had the opportunity of working with people that have been undocumented. And then suddenly they do a raid. This was in the 90s. They do a raid in that organization. Then they run. Some of them run to their death. And me with my British passport, I didn't have to do that. And I'm like, why are they running? Because you don't actually understand.
Yes.
You don't understand what it means to be rock bottom. So wherever you are, whatever you've got, be grateful. No matter how bad it looks, be grateful and figure out, how can I be better? Don't look down on yourself. The world does that already.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
look down on yourself. Don't look down on yourself. Say yes to yourself, and those possibilities will start. And I'm going to come back to you because I can talk about this forever. So the next question, this is just question number one.
Okay.
The next question is, you wrote an amazing book, and we're going to spend some time on that. You wrote a lovely book called, Healing, Healing Letters of Healing, or Healing Letters.
Healing letters, yeah.
Healing Letters. And I want you to tell the amazing people listening right now, those that will listen on the replay, what led you to do that? What was the journey, the thinking journey? Was it cathartic? How did you find, writing those letters? What made you do it, and how do you feel now?
When I was young, I always been a heavy reader, which for some reason now I can't do it. I always get very, because my mind is all over the place. So I rather listen to podcasts like yours.
Thank you.
So I always said that I wanted to be a writer. And then that just went out of my mind. And then with all the things that happened while I was having an abusive relationship, I started going to therapy. And I always publicize therapy, like they pay me commission. They actually should start paying me commission, because I do talk a lot about therapy. And my therapist, and I'm not sure if it's all therapists, but I heard that it's one of the practice they do it sometimes. If you can't put into words right, if you can't communicate with people that hurt you, write about it. You don't have to give them the letters. If you feel like they'll be able to read and have a decent conversation, do it. If not, it's just for you to take out of you, because me, even, I can talk. We talk about that before. I can talk, but when it's very emotional, I think it's not only me, it's difficult to take it as it is, because then you start crumbling on your emotions, on your crying. I now cry easily, because when I was younger, I wouldn't cry. You wouldn't see me cry. For you to see me cry, it will take a lot. And so he advised me to write, and I started writing while I was doing my therapy sessions. Believe it or not, and I said that in other interviews before, one day I had a dream, and on my dream, I could see the book with the title, Healing Letters. I could see the chapters, which are the main chapters that I have in there, because I have some subtitles in there as well. And then I knew what to write when I woke up, and I did a note straight away. I was sleeping at my boyfriend's house, and I was like, okay, I woke up and I was like, oh, this is a sign. For some reason, I just felt it was a sign. So I wrote it, and then I said to him, oh, I have to go home. I have things to do, because I just wanted to go home and put my head into it before that feeling would pass.
Yes.
And the only chapter I didn't see in the dream was about my son, which is the last chapter in the book. But that came because while I was writing the book, I felt it was going to be a discernment to write about everyone that hurt me, and not putting myself in check about the times that I was less of a mother to my son, because of my traumas, because of the propaganda that I've seen from my mom while she was a single mother, from the lessons, bad lessons, if you want to call it, that I learned through the world, to the other people, from the culture, African culture, that as long that you feed, your kids just have to listen, that they have to give them a voice, they have to obey you. I thought I should write about that. As I wrote about the postpartum depression that I had, that I didn't acknowledge, because I was told if I acknowledge, my son could be taken away from me by the midwives in social service. So I just swallow up and I just live with that, because growing up, I learned to move with my pain and my trauma. And I just thought, now more than ever, I have to do this. And so as I was finishing the last chapter, I thought, my son deserves this, because if I die tomorrow, after the book is published, you'll be able to read here, if I never have the chance to tell that mom was like this, but you helped me grow. You helped me want to be better, not just for me, but for yourself. And you helped me be for you the adult that I wanted that someone was for me when I was a child and I felt
Yes,
unprotected
yes,
and
yes,
I
yes,
felt abused and I
yes,
felt unseen and I
yes,
felt hurt.
yes, yes.
So yeah, that's how it came about. I'm not sure if that responds to your question.
No, it's an excellent response because it's your response. It's my question, but it's your response. And like I always say, it's really important to me and to ensure that whoever listens, they get the rawness, the authenticity that my guests bring. Like I say, people come on this show not because they are some, whatever your, qualifications are is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking for is, the heart,
Oh,
because
we
it's
humans, yeah, we're
the
just human.
heart, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the heart that touches people. And I like how you've talked about, the various people that have hurt you, and the journey you've gone on to. You were, when you were while you were writing, and then suddenly you remembered your son. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really important. You could be a mother right now, or a parent, because I don't know, maybe there might be some men listening at some. So you might be a parent right now, and you're feeling so traumatized by your journey, whatever that journey might be. Maybe you lost your job, maybe you have a terminal injury, maybe you're divorced, maybe you've been in an abusive relationship, maybe you had an abusive childhood, maybe you were raped as a child. Whatever. I heard a story the other day of someone. Oh, this is a really sad story. Someone, they were traveling they were traveling from America to Nigeria, I think, and there wasn't a direct flight, and so they did a stopover in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
And a little boy, 8 years old, went to the toilet. Said, "Oh, I'm going to go," and he was raped in the toilet
Oh my God.
just recently. So this young boy is 8 years old. He's going to be an adult. So he's going to have to unpack all those things. And the parents are going to have to unpack the guilt that they will feel, the
Oh,
guilt, the
yeah,
shame, you know,
absolutely. Mm.
a lovely, lovely marriage, but they're going to have to navigate that. Whose fault? You should have taken it,
Yeah,
and all that. And so the reason why I say this is that hurting people hurt people.
absolutely.
Whether you're a hurting spouse, a hurting sister, hurting brother, hurting mother, hurting boss, when you're hurting, you hurt people. And so it's
Yeah.
really, what you've just said right now has really touched me in terms of, you suddenly had that wake up call,
Yeah.
that I'm talking about all these people that have hurt me. And that's fine. You need to do that. You needed to do that. Therapy tells you to do that. But suddenly you remembered, okay, in this process, while I'm hurting, I'm not being what I need to be for my son. And if I didn't pull the stops, he might end up being a hurting adult
And another broken man.
and another broken man who's going to bring
Yeah.
in
And
another relationship.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. For me, it was the another being a woman raising a boy
yes,
that eventually was going to become a man.
yes,
And it was the me and my son didn't connect it until he was after 3. He was always more connected with the dad, but then before he was 3, we separated. He decided to go back to Angola, and I had to raise him by myself. And at the same time, I started a full-time job, so it was just a routine. Take him to the childcare, going to work, come back, give him a bath, put him in bed, and then on the weekends, he wanted to go outside. I wanted to stay in bed. Just then, now, when I started writing the book as well, and as I was writing each chapter, I realized how much depression was in me.
mm,
I just wanted to stay in bed, but I normally say my son kept me, work kept me busy, and my son kept me alive. Because otherwise, if I didn't have that child, I would stay from Friday to Monday in bed and then put a smile on my face on Monday, go back to work, start all over again. And it was a cycle. I was raised seeing before my mom got into a relationship again with my stepdad, which became my dad. Love him today. He's already passed away. That was the routine. I didn't know what my mom did for a living. We wouldn't talk much because on the weekend she'll be busy around the house doing whatever. During the week she'll leave me to whoever to go to school. Then some auntie that still call auntie well, they were nice people,
yes,
will take care of me. And then she was my mother, but a stranger. So this I used to hate when I was growing up, but then the cycle began in my life with my child. But then during therapy, I start thinking, I don't want my son to love-hate relationship. And then I'm always complaining about men, but what is he learning from me? So,
Yeah.
and actually my TED Talk speak, it's about that. The title is The Children of Today Are the Adults of Tomorrow.
Yes.
We complain so much about
Yes.
society. We complain
Yes.
so much about the men around our
Yes.
lives,
Yes.
brothers, the
Yes.
fathers,
Yes.
our partners,
Yes.
our sons as
Yes.
well. But who's raising them?
Yes.
Who
Yes.
is raising them? If you recognize and you your traumas,
Yes.
heal them,
Yes.
take care of them, so
Yes.
you
Yes.
can change the narrative. You can change the cycle.
Yes. Yes.
Me growing up, I attempted suicide twice. My mom never knew because I never felt open to talk to her.
Yes.
My
Yes.
son is coming sometimes having conversations with me about some things that I'm like, oh my God, do I have to listen to this? But I'm happy that he does. But sometimes I'm
Yes.
like, oh dear Lord, do I want to hear to this?
Yeah.
And I'm just there with my poker face. Oh, okay, right. I didn't know that. But I feel good that he feels free and
Free
able to
to come
come
and
and
speak
talk
to
to
you.
me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's things
Absolutely.
that we have to work. And sometimes I say, oh, my child is ungrateful, did all of that for them. But the main thing, did you do it? Did you connect with your child? Do you know them? Of course, there's certain things now is growing, is becoming teenagers, things are changing, but we still are able to have conversation. I'm still able to see when he's not okay. He's still able to. Sometimes I'm telling him off about something. He said, I don't think that's unfair. Okay, you tell me why it's not unfair. And sometimes I have to back down. Okay, this
Yes.
time I'll give you a pass
Yes.
because you
Yes.
were very articulate and you were right on what you said. Okay,
Yes.
let's agree to
Yes.
disagree. Let's move
Yes.
on,
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I didn't have that growing up, and I thought it was time to change. And that chapter was more than necessary because I talk about child sexual abuse, domestic abuse, healthy family cycles coming from an African culture. I
Yes.
then realized as well as a grown person that culture can be a prison,
Yes.
mental prison because of the respect sometimes you have to have for your elders. But
Yes.
let's be realistic that some elders are mad
That don't deserve
disrespectful,
respect. Yes.
don't deserve any
Yes.
respect.
Yes.
They're abusive, they're aggressive, they're
Yes.
disrespectful, but they want respect. One thing I have in my house: respect goes and come back. You need to respect to be respected. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
And if we don't agree in something, we don't like something, there's a line of respect always
Yes.
in
Yes.
everything.
Yes. Yes.
So I write about that: postpartum depression, betrayal of friendships, where the person knows everything about your life and then they betray you. And then it couldn't finish without me showing that all those traumas affected me as a grown person, as a parent. And then I was starting a new cycle, and it was down to me to say, no, I'm not taking this to my son's life.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm going to do my best. And if I'm still here, to make sure that if I see something in him, to address him and say, I don't want you carrying out these unhealthy cycles for the next generation. This stops here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Love it. Love it. There's a prayer that I pray. There's a prayer line I follow in the morning. And one of the things that pastor always talks about is about breaking patterns and cycles.
Yes.
And what's quite incredible is that we don't actually realize there are patterns and cycles in our lives. It's always somebody else's fault. You know what? I've just been so rude. I haven't offered you. Do you want a cup of tea? Bring your cup. Let me pour some tea for you.
Chin chin.
Chin chin. I just realized that's so rude of me. I'm so sorry.
I already had a sip before, but you didn't see me. Like,
and so there are patterns and cycles. And one of the things about this is that yes, people have done things, circumstances and situations have happened in our lives, at work or whatever, but we have to be able to take responsibility for where we want to see ourselves. Like I said, say yes to yourself. When you say yes to yourself, those patterns and cycles, you can say it stops here.
yes.
It stops here. It stops here. My mother could have been like this. My father you could have even have come from a fantastic background. It doesn't matter. But whatever, there are patterns and cycles in our lives that we don't need to be taking forward.
Absolutely.
We need to ensure that we have the right boundaries around ourselves, We have to stop complaining. Oh, so and so doesn't value me. They don't do it. But when you notice that perhaps you're not being valued, put the right boundaries around yourself.
Mhm.
Start by valuing yourself. Put the money sign, and I'm using that prefer I can't say that as a proverb, but put a value sign on yourself. This is how much I'm worth, because what you give out is what you get. When you're always available, people will always call you because you're always available, and when
Mhm.
you need them, they will not be there.
Yes.
And so you have to be sure that you value yourself. And I don't know why I'm getting into that, but coming back to what you were saying, I
But
think
it's important. That's important.
it is important. It really
It's very important.
is.
I learned that as well.
I had to learn that as well. You can't
Yeah.
be all things to all people.
Can
And if
be.
you're a helper, I'm a helper. I'm an empath. I like helping people, just like yourself. I see a pay, but you still have to know where to draw the line. When the airlines talk about put on your mask first, put on your mask first before you put on your child's mask. You really have to ensure that you are good within yourself so that you can actually pour into someone else. And if you,
Yes.
you do have children, you know it's your responsibility to build them up to be the best leaders of tomorrow. But even if you don't have children, and you work and you're a leader, leadership is not just something that you get because
Mhm.
of a title. And I'm talking because obviously I am a leadership coach but that's why just so
Yeah.
it's not you have a title, but it's also about being inclusive. It's also about being empathetic, but it's also about giving people the room, the
Mhm.
space to be who they are, to make the decisions that they need to make. Just like a parent, sometimes we don't like our children to make mistakes, and we want to, I'm like that. You want to stop,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I'm like,
Sometimes
oh,
you need to
no,
give them
yes,
space. Yeah.
yes. And so coming back to that point, I really love, you know, the journey that you've been on, and I want to touch on that a bit more. Can you give examples of times in your life where you have said no to yourself? Not it doesn't have to be like no, Aurea, but even by your attitude and behavior, you've said no to yourself for whatever reason. It could be because of external influences, but you said no to yourself, and now you're able to look back because you've said yes to yourself, and you can now see the possibilities that have come out of that.
Hmm. I'll say professional because we've been touching a lot in the professional side, and I'll say personal. So, professional, I remember when I came to England, while I was working in a factory, someone put me up for an interview as a receptionist because I did have the receptionist course from Portugal, and I work in some five and four-star hotels in Portugal. So they say, oh, just go, I know the guys, just go. And the person that interviewed me ended up being the owner of the hotel because the guy knew wasn't there. And he liked it. He liked me, and we had a conversation for 2 hours. And it was like, oh, and I said, he said, okay, if you want, you can come tomorrow for a trial. But I was so insecure at the time because of my English that in mid interview I said, you know what, if you have, because he kept saying that he was short in housekeepers as well. So I said, I think at this point of my life, while I'm still learning English at school, I rather do the housekeeping role. And he said, why? And then he put me out of that, and he said, like, no, I want you for housekeeping, considering that you have the second language Portuguese and you speak Spanish as well.
Mm.
I was like, oh, okay. So then I went home, and he called me to confirm what time, because he said I have another interview, but then if I'll call you and let you know what's the time, the trial tomorrow. I will arrange with the receptionist. And he called me to confirm the job, and I lied straight face on the phone and said that while I was waiting, because the interview was in the morning, he called me in the afternoon. Someone called me already, offered me another position that I wanted, and he said, "Really?" And I said, the man was clever. He said, what job? And I said, oh, it's in a bank in Wolverhampton. He said, so you didn't want to work in the reception at my hotel because of your English, but you want to work at a bank? And I said, yeah, I thought, well, and the pay is better as well, and don't have to work Saturdays and blah, 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 shifts. And he said, okay, Aurea, but if you need help, I'll still be here. And then I lost my job at the factory at the time, and I could have gone to him, but I felt so embarrassed that I didn't. That's one. Then
That's a good example where you said no.
I said no for embarrassment, for insecurities, for
shame.
I just felt like I wasn't worthy of that job. When the owner of the hotel, it was a small hotel, and it's a very good hotel here in Wolverhampton, actually still here, offered me the job, but I just felt I don't want to embarrass him and make a fool of myself, so I just said no. And probably I would be I probably would have been far away more. It wouldn't take me that long to be where I am today, probably, if I had said yes to that job at the time. But, things happen for a reason, I believe. Then personally, it was when years before my son was little, I was with his father. And I did say that at the time was when 50 Shades came out.
Okay, yes.
And I read the first book and I said, oh, I could write a book because there's so many spelling mistakes in this book. I could write a book as well and probably be better than this.
Better than that.
And he turned around and said, do you think writing a book is just this, And at the time, I bought a book like to write and start writing because I was feeling maybe this is the time that I should write in my book.
Yes.
And then he said that, and I just quiet myself again. I put that book and the pen in a drawer, and I said like, yeah, maybe he's right. Okay, it was by influence of what someone said, but I said no to myself, which these days, for example, during COVID, I did care. Then through that job, one of my neighbors, he was working as at a charity for homeless people, asylum seekers and refugees. And he invited me to go there as a coach and development manager. Never done management before. I've been as assistant or whatever, but never management. And I said to him, I never done management. And he said, do you want to try it? Because you have transferable skills. And I said, why not? Can try. So I tried for 9 months until the charity was closed. And then I had to apply for other jobs. That's when I ended up in the Refugee Migrant Center. Never done employment coach. I applied for another job, which was closer with what I knew at the time with my skills. And they asked me, the employment coach position is to start straight away because the other charity closed and we weren't going to be paid the way it closed. It was just so traumatizing. I had 4 weeks to find a job because we weren't going to be paid. And they offered me the position. I said, I never done employment coach. And they said, well, you can learn. And I said, that sure I can. So I said, yes, skydiving. I'm not afraid of heights. But someone said to me, because I said for my 40th, which was during COVID, I wanted to do skydiving. All my friends said, you're doing it on your own.
You're mad.
But then because it was during COVID.
I'm saying that to you. You're doing it on your own, just so that you know. I'm saying it on air. Because I know your next thing offline is like, I'm adventurous. I am very, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Just so that you know.
But you adventurous.
I am very adventurous.
I'm being adventurous since my 40s. I'm more adventurous now than I was in my 20s.
Are you
Skydiving
serious?
was something that I said as a joke, but then I saw the prices. I was like, yeah, definitely not. But then because I support a lot of initiatives on domestic abuse, I speak about that because of my book as well.
Yes.
So there's association here, a charity here in Wolverhampton, and they were doing, and I just received an email, and I'm like, if I'm receiving this email, it's a sign. So I'm going to say yes to that. So I enrolled myself. I enrolled another friend of mine who's crazier than me. Yeah. And I went and I did. And then in the end, they say you need to do a small interview. So what do you think? And my friend said she was going to go back and she's going to go back. I said straight in the interview, done, dusty. You guys have the money. I raised the money. I hope it helps lots of people. But you're not going to see me again. They start laughing. I was like, this is done and dusted. This is an experience. It's out of the bucket list. Don't call me again. I'm not coming. If you want me to come and talk, I will for sure. So since then, I've just been saying yes. That TEDx was another experience. lastminute.com, I was so nervous that I almost called the organizers to say I had COVID. Then I slapped myself in the face mentally. I said, "Girl, you're going to go, and if you done wrong, if you forget your speech, at least you tried." So
Yes.
I went. I did wonderful. Like people still seeing the video on YouTube, they all the
Yes.
time.
Love
Oh,
it.
that is a
Love
wonderful
it.
speech, and
Love
because
it.
I speak about the cycles,
Yes.
the amount of people that relate to that,
Yes.
the amount of people that don't have relationship with their
Yes.
parents because they grow
Yes.
up to hate their parents
Yes.
because they complain about their
Yes.
parents, that
Yes.
their
Yes.
grandparents, but then they
Yes.
doing the same things, but then they
Yes.
make excuses for themselves.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
just been saying yes to everything and everyone, but of course being careful if it's something that I have invitations of things that I didn't want to be associated with.
Yes.
You need to be
Absolutely.
careful
Yes.
because, as I say normally, my name is a brand. That's my name. It's my brand, Audio Reis. And so I need to be careful who associates, especially because I help vulnerable people.
Yes.
But if it's something that I think I can say yes, it's not about the money. When it's paid, very welcome. Everybody's struggling.
Yeah.
But sometimes I go home and I think, if God is putting that in my way, it might be that he's showing me bridges to other opportunities. And
Yes.
since I start thinking like that, oh wow, there's many opportunities that come my way that sometimes I'm like, me? You want me? Oh my God, why? Oh, I saw you somewhere. Someone talk about you. Someone mention your name. And I'm like, thank you, God.
I have to say this because no one's going to believe me. When I thought about what normally happens is that I kind of have a guest, and some guests I know, some I don't know. But what normally happens is that the title or the theme of the show just gets downloaded. And literally, I was talking to Aria earlier on in the week, and I just gave her the title, and I said, "Do you like it?" And she loved it. And you now can understand why, because it has your name on it.
Absolutely.
It
You
has your
said you
name
like
on
the
it.
title. And I was like, yeah, that's so me.
It has your name on it. And so you've heard it here, people. When you say yes to yourself, all kinds of things become possible. Sometimes, I like what you just said, sometimes it can be a bridge to something else. Sometimes it could be a bridge to someone else that can help you. Sometimes it can be a bridge to you helping somebody else. You might be thinking that your story, who's going to listen to me? I'm the lowest of the low, or whatever it is that you might be feeling, or whatever it is that you've been told. Because sometimes we take on the mantles, the cloaks that people tell you, you're never going to be able to do this. Like she said, her partner said, "You write a book. You think it's easy?" And she could have not written it. And then the rest is history. The doors that had of possibilities that are open right now wouldn't be open. I met her because of this book, and that's a different story. And so what am I saying? Wherever you are, you're listening to this right now, you're listening on the replay, or you listen to this years and years in the future when I'm long and gone and dead. We're all gonna go. I'm not
We're
going
all
yet,
gonna go.
not yet, not yet. But what I'm saying is that please, 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 please start saying yes to yourself. You might be saying yes to other people, and don't be a people person. Don't be a people pleaser.
No.
I used to be, so I know what I'm
That's
talking
a different kind of yes.
about. Kind of yes. But
Yeah.
allow yourself to be. Give yourself permission. Those things that
Experience
look
life.
absolutely,
You know.
those things that look like they are impossible to do. I've never done skydiving, but I climbed a mountain, Mount Mulunji in Malawi. Don't know what possessed me. We'll never do it again. Done it.
Me neither. I did snow down here. Listen, it was my friend's bucket list thing
Yeah.
to do. My son's godmother.
Mhm.
Girl, don't invite me for nothing like that. Never again. I'm not doing it. And this is recorded over here on the internet. I'm not doing it again. I
No,
couldn't
I'm
walk
not
for
doing
2
it.
days.
But
No.
still say yes. Say yes to yourself. Even if you do it only once, say it. Because when you're saying yes to yourself, other people are saying yes through you. There are people that are watching me that I will never ever meet, and they're living life vicariously. They're like, okay, if Zena can do this, Dr. Zena can do it, I can do that too. If Aurea can do it, so can I. Oh my days. You mean she was a cleaner? Oh my days. You mean she worked in reception? What, you mean she did this? You mean she's in a you mean she does? That can be you. You know what? I'm going to close in a minute, but what I'm going to do, I want you to give last 3 tips that people can do that you think that will really help people, and where can they find you?
So, tips. Again, allow yourself, be open to opportunities, which is means saying yes to things. Network a lot. I just found this year I'm not doing much stuff in terms of like interviews. I think this is the first interview of the year I'm doing, if I'm not wrong. Forgive me if I am. And networking, you starting to build your community. If you're trying to do something, I have a friend, she wants to open now her own business as mentoring and coaching for young ladies only. And so she didn't know how to go about it, but she's already doing that through her church, but she wants to put her name on it. So I said to her, you need to network. And sometimes I just go with her to support. But I said to her, when you start networking, you find your niche, you find the people that, because like happened to me with my ex, what happened is you're talking to people that they're not your audience.
Yes.
They don't even understand what you're doing.
Or
And
why
sometimes
you're
they don't
doing
even, because the way he say it hurted me. But then years later, I understood that he didn't even say that to hurt me. It was just, he didn't understood that
He was
that was
seeing
one of
you
my,
in a way. He was seeing you
yeah.
in a way
He
beneath you.
didn't even know that was my passion, because I never even had that conversation with him about wanting to. He just knew I like to read books. So allow yourself, be open to opportunities, network, and embrace your creativity. I know, like by writing the book, I thought I was an author, and that was it. I was happy. Oh, I have a book on Amazon. I'm an author now. Call me Aurea the author. But then the amount of things that the book came, that I just realized the other day that I don't even talk much about the book these days, because I'm working on that other things. I became a motivational speaker. And just to give you a fact, every time I go on stage, I feel like I'm going to throw up, but I still go on that stage and I still deliver my best, because as I say, my name is a brand. And like Dr. Zee said, when I go to talk, I always think, even if it's touching one person today, that he needs to listen to this. I'm happy. Doesn't matter if it's one person in the audience. It doesn't matter if that message is for one person. I believe God put me there for a reason.
Absolutely.
And then from that, other things start happen. Like people invite me for podcasts like this. And right now I'm working on a project with a photographer, which I can't talk much about it because it's still a secret. But it is a major project that it came from my head as well. Connected with this photographer that I knew already. It's a friend now. Invited other people, to collaborate with me. People like me, like you, Dr. Zina. And they all accepted to come and collaborate because they believe in the project. We have the art gallery on our side here in Wolverhampton. So stay tuned for October. Things are starting to come out in September. And the creativity, because my work can be quite boring, although I'm helping people. So I need this side of me, of creating things, collaborating with people, coming this podcast, talking about the things that make me tick and smile. And
she's ticking,
so.
And isn't she looking amazing? Ticking, look at how beautiful she, her hair. Sorry.
Yeah. So allow yourself to be, you didn't just came in this world to be like a regular smuggler, you came in this world to be more than that. And sometimes it isn't you're just shutting it up. Those voices, not the bad voices like saying like, oh, you this, you that. No. Sometimes, oh, maybe you should do this. Write in the paper, because it might not be the time on that moment. But write in the paper and keep looking at that, because then the right people will say, the more you think about it, the right people will start coming. Next minute you're having a conversation with the person. I'm doing something similar. Do you want to come and collaborate? Are we doing this event? Do you want to come and see it? And that's how it always happened for me. Sometimes when you're talking about these people thinking like, oh, it just happened to other people. No, you have that as well. You just, every time it comes in your mind, because our mind is always so busy with problems, we don't listen to those voices, the good voices. And
And
I
we're
always
not
say the
here to
message
be
from God.
islands. Absolutely. We're message
Yeah.
from God, and we're not here to be islands. Thank
Yes.
you so much. Give yourself permission to be creative, network. And when you're networking, don't network because of what you can get. Network
Mm-hmm.
and give, and be open, because you
Yeah.
never know what comes out of that. Go out of your comfort zone. We could be here forever. This has been a cup of tea with Dr. Zee.
It was really good.
Phenomenal Aurea. Okay, look at you. Let me get that as well. The phenomenal Aurea Rish, and I can never pronounce her name properly. She always
It's okay. Yeah.
Rish, Rish,
The Spanish and the Portuguese have the
Rish, and
Rish.
and she can speak. She's not just bilingual. She can speak Spanish fluently, Portuguese fluently, English fluently, and I can just about speak English. So thank you so much. This is amazing. And with this, next week we will have another show coming up. Please look for Aurea on Instagram, and you'll find her in all the places. She's doing amazing things. Keep your ears peeled. October is going to be amazing. But in the meantime, I just want to thank you all so much for being on the show. Thank you so much, Aurea. You've been a star. You've been an absolute gem. And yes, I said it at the beginning of the show, and I'm saying it again. I am going to bring you back. Bring you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Love you.
You're welcome. I love you too.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to A Cup of Tea with Dr. Zee, your reinvention queen. We hope you've been motivated and inspired to go out there and conquer any obstacles and issues you may face. You can find Dr. Zena on all social platforms. Until next time, remember, you're not alone.